I'm on my way, Jungkook. And you know what's funny? All I wanted was 5 minutes of peace. Just a tiny little break. But oh no, apparently, my company and manager Hyungnam thinks I'm some sort of robot who does not need alone time. I didn't know that celebrity status came with an invisible chain and ankle cuffs. Kim Taehyung, a global K-pop star, was walking down a random street in Seoul, phone pressed to his ears, sighing dramatically, complaining about his oppressive lifestyle to his best friend plus colleague. He hit a pause for a while as he glanced around, suddenly realizing the street he is on is not familiar. I have reached home, safely. I'll talk to you after attending my scolding session by Taehyung. Taehyung lied to his friend, as he did not want to make him worried by telling him that he was lost successfully, and that he had no idea how he ended up in this dark alley. So now I'm both a slave and lost. What a great day, muttered under his breath in annoyance. He took out his AirPod out of his ears, put them in his hoodie pocket and started walking cautiously, trying to find his way back home. He turned a corner and gasped loudly as he suddenly saw a buff man standing in front of him, looking as if he walked straight out of a gangster movie. He placed his hand on his heart and spoke. "You scared me." The man had a hard face, tattoos creeping up his neck, and a dangerous air about him. He eyed Taehyung with mild interest. Taehyung hesitated, but then offered a small, polite smile. "It's okay, I'm not mad at you." Despite the fact that his legs were shivering as if he was a baby calf born a few seconds ago, he still tried his best to man up and act normal. The scary man chuckled deeply before taking in a puff of his cigarette and releasing the smoke over Taehyung's face, causing Tae to cough. And now Tae was ready to run for his life at any given moment. "New here?" Deadpan face. "Anyo Ajushi?" I mean, sir, I know this place so." Trying to act cool even though his knees were giving up. "So you're new here. Leave before you get robbed." "Serious? Robbed? I don't have much money on me anyway. Would anyone really want to steal my sandwich?" His hand instinctively moved to his pocket where his phone rested. He took another drag from his cigarette and shook his head. "I would get out of here if I were you." "I'll too." Saying this, he started walking to the end of the alley with fast steps, scared expressions and quickened heartbeat. Called from behind. "Release a song about studying as well, so my daughter can study for once in her life." Taehyung got shocked by the scary man's statement, and his first thought was, "He knows me." However, as he realized that his daughter is probably his fan, and the man who looked as cruel as is so soft for his daughter, his pure heart swelled with warmth. He turned to look at the man and managed to smile despite being on the verge of choking from dread. "I will. Also, smoking is bad for lungs. Stay healthy for your daughter." Saying this, he immediately faced the front, covered his head with his hoodie and started running. "Stay out of trouble, boy," the man muttered to himself, amused by the strange encounter. "Thanks, POV. Despite my best efforts to run like Usain Bolt, the alley wasn't ending. But suddenly my feet automatically stopped as I flinched and covered my head as I heard the loud bang. My mind went blank, but I gathered myself, not wanting to make it in the news tomorrow like this, at least not in this outfit. I looked around hurriedly but saw approximately 6 big black SUVs coming my way. Now I know why gangsters use these blackout cars, because they are harder to see at night, especially in the dark, until they are right in front of you. I started running at full speed and turned a corner, but the identical black SUVs approached me from that direction as well. That must be a coincidence, I reassured myself, but before I could even move in the third direction, more cars surrounded me from all the directions. Okay, that's not a coincidence anymore. I panicked and instinctively raised my shivering hands in surrender position. Many huge men, looking like gangster guards, jumped out of those cars and pointed their at me, making me regret stepping out of my home today. Is this my end? I had tears in my eyes because who is not scared of? Suddenly, a harsh grip on my neck from behind forced me to look to my feet. The man twisted my hand behind my back and kicked the back of my knees harshly, making me yelp loudly and kneel down with a loud thud. I think he broke my kneecaps. I didn't dare to raise my head. Instead, I closed my eyes tightly, trying to wake up from this nightmare. I heard slow footsteps echoing in the alley, but I just shivered in my place, while praying to God to let me go this time. I won't disobey nor complain about Taehyung ever again. Last words. A cold, deep voice echoed in the dark alley, bearing the menace that would end my life. But that voice had an announcement of a mature, dark feminine aura, making me wonder and wanting to look at that person's face just for once. But I preferred to keep my head secure by looking down and trying to clear the misunderstanding. I'm not a secret agent or anything. You've got the wrong guy. I promise I'm innocent. Innocently pleaded. I heard the clicking sound of and felt the cold metal on my forehead, indicating that the person is all ready to knock me out at any moment. No, 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 please. I swear I did nothing. In extreme panic, I tried to move, but strong hands held me in my place. So I looked up at the person to show them my face, hoping that this would let them know that I'm not the one they are looking for to. But looking at the dark, penetrating eyes staring coldly into mine, my breath got stuck in my throat. Her one gaze sucked the soul out of my body. Those were the most beautiful yet the most emotional eyes I've ever seen. Leave this young lad, master. He just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. I've got the real culprit. Ajushi whispered in shock. The same man. It was the same man I had met in the alley. He saved me, I guess. That woman, or I say the mafia girl, who was pointing her at me, lowered her without breaking the eye contact with me. She did not utter a word and kept staring at me intensely, as if she wanted to do the worst with me. I gulped, but my dry thought made it hard. I just want to go home. She turned towards that Ajushi and gestured him something. Within seconds, Ajushi and his men dumped two men at her feet, who were severely beaten and hardly breathing. No, no, I don't want to witness this. I tried to move again, but the men holding me down tightened their grip. Rob, David, my dear friends, it seems we have a little situation on our hands, doesn't it? She spoke to the men on the floor, her voice calmly dangerous, carrying the threat of pleading in panic. Wine, please listen, I swear. Before he could finish his sentence, she finished him by him in the leg, causing him to scream and then whimper, as he was slowly losing his life. The smoke emitting from the mouth of her signaled the departure of that man's soul from his body and humanity from this world. I felt nauseous as I witnessed the horrifying truth of the underworld mafia, which looked glamorous only in novels or movies, and tears dripped down from my eyes as I was too scared to express. Voice as cold as a flame. Master. It's Master for you. Indicating that she did not appreciate Rob taking her name. Master, please have mercy. Attempted to sit from the lying position and joined his head in front of her to beg properly. Mercy? What's that? Asked as if she seriously had no idea what he was talking about. I'll return your money. Please give me some time. Please, I have a family. Time is something you don't have much of anymore. You see, I have been patient with you, giving you chances to make things right, but it seems you have forgotten who you are dealing with.